For the vast majority of human history, we understood our lives through the shape of an arrow. Ancient philosophies and spiritual traditions operated on the principle known as teleology, from the Greek word telos, meaning an ultimate end, a purpose, or a destination. To live a teleological life meant believing that your actions were moving toward a meaningful completion. A harvest had an end. A building project had a final stone. A human life had an ultimate moral or spiritual destination. There was a finish line. But when the modernist project conquered the world, it did something radical to the human psyche. It broke the arrow and bent it into a permanent spinning circle. Modern organizations do not have a telos. They do not have a point of ultimate completion where the founders look at the company and say, "We've made enough. We are finished. We can go home." Instead, the modern workplace is explicitly designed to be anti-teleological. It is powered by an infrastructure of endless iterative cycles, fiscal quarters, sprint loops, rolling performance reviews, and infinite growth. To pull this off, modern organizations had to do something insidious. They had to colonize time itself. They had to strip us of our natural human experience of temporality and replace it with a synthetic clock. This video is about the profound existential dread born from that shift, the psychological trauma of being a teleological creature trapped inside an anti-teleological engine that is legally and structurally forbidden from ever stopping. To understand how we lost our finish line, we have to look at what purpose used to mean. To Aristotle, you could not understand anything in the universe without knowing its telos. He argued that an acorn has a purpose, to become an oak tree. A seed has a destination. Human beings, by extension, have a telos. Eudaimonia is a state of ultimate human flourishing achieved by living out one's deeper nature and moral potential. Work was the means to realize an end. But when the scientific revolution and modern industrial capitalism took hold, the architects of efficiency looked at Aristotle's teleology and saw an obstacle to production. They replaced final causality, doing something for the sake of its ultimate end, with efficient causality, how to make things happen faster. The machine didn't care why an object was being made, it only cared about how many could be made per hour. When human beings were brought into the modern corporate framework, our internal teleology was systematically stripped away. Think about the work of a medieval stone mason. When he laid a brick, he knew he was building a structure. He could look up and see the final design. His labor was connected to a macro-teleology that gave meaning to his micro-actions. Now look at a modern white-collar professional. You optimize a workflow. You clean data cells. You move cards from in progress to complete on a digital board, knowing with absolute certainty that each morning a fresh batch of cards will appear. The modernist workplace deliberately divorces the worker from the final meaning of their output. You are a variable in a process that serves no ultimate human end, but only the abstract, infinite expansion of the organization itself. Now, if you were to ask a corporate executive or a management consultant if the organization has a goal, they would look at you like you're crazy. They would say, "Of course we have a destination. We have a 5-year plan. We have a product roadmap. We have this quarter's revenue target." As a side note, it is interesting that 5-year plans were the central feature of economics under Soviet communism. And this is the core of the psychological trap. On a rational level, we are constantly fed a narrative of completion. We are told that we are moving toward a specific, concrete endpoint. But on a phenomenological level, in our actual lived experience of day-to-day existence, we experience the workplace as deeply, unremittingly anti-teleological. The organization constructs what we might call a miraged telos. It uses the language of purpose and endpoints to exploit your natural human desire for a finish line. You are told that if you just push through this crunch period, if you just survive this software launch, if you just clear this audit, you will reach a plateau of stability and rest. The system forces you to invest real emotional and physical capital into a future moment of completion. But the moment your foot crosses that finish line, the goalposts are instantly, rationally reset. There is a structural trap. The tragedy of the modern worker is not that they have no goals, but that they are trapped in a system where every attained goal is immediately converted into a new baseline for extraction. The quarter ends. Your metrics are wiped cleanly back to zero, and the mountain resets. This creates a profound state of cognitive dissonance and existential exhaustion. Your brain is told that you are making progress, but your nervous system knows that you are trapped in a loop. It is the industrial execution of the myth of Sisyphus. Sisyphus was condemned by the gods to roll a massive boulder up a mountain, only to watch it roll back down to the bottom for all eternity. Sisyphus's punishment is terrifying precisely because it mimics this exact dynamic. It forces a human being to operate under the rational illusion of a peak, while subjecting them to the somatic reality of an endless circular loop. Your reward for pushing the boulder to the top isn't rest. It's just a heavier boulder and a fresh slope. To understand why this loop feels so exhausting, we have to look at the work of German sociologist Hartmut Rosa. Rosa diagnoses the defining feature of our time not just as capitalism or bureaucracy, but as social acceleration. Rosa argues that modernity is characterized by a profound paradox. Our technology saves us time, yet we feel like we have less time than ever before. Why? Because the speed of our systems outpaces our capacity to process them. Rosa breaks this down into three distinct loops that feed into modern organizations. First, technical acceleration, the speed-up of transportation, communication, and production, such as with email and AI tools. Second, the acceleration of social change. The rates of structural and cultural instability increased. Jobs, platforms, and industries change so fast that knowledge becomes obsolete within years. Finally, the acceleration of the pace of life. The subjective feeling that we are always running out of time, leading to multitasking and a chronic sense of scarcity. Think about what this means for your workplace. Because the organization must accelerate just to stay alive, it passes that existential panic down to you. Rosa points out that this causes a severe form of alienation from time. When the pace of change is faster than our ability to integrate our experiences into a coherent narrative, time shatters. Life stops feeling like a story with a beginning, middle, and end. Instead, it becomes a fragmented collection of tasks, sprint cycles, and ephemeral deadlines. You are not moving forward toward a meaningful destination. You are simply being violently propelled through a series of disconnected corporate episodes. You are running as fast as you can, not to get somewhere, but just to avoid falling off the edge. This sociological acceleration is only possible because modern organizations forced us to accept a deeply unnatural definition of time, a definition exposed by the French philosopher Henri Bergson. In his 1889 work, Time and Free Will, Bergson argued that modern scientific industrial society committed a fundamental error. It spatialized time. Because we wanted to measure time, we began treating it as if it were space. We look at a clock face and see time as a line on a map or a sequence of identical boxes on a calendar, discrete, uniform units that sit side by side. Bergson called this mechanized, quantitative time Temps. But Bergson argued that true human consciousness does not experience time as a series of frozen blocks. It experiences time as Durée, or duration. For Bergson, duration is qualitative, not quantitative. It is like a symphony where the notes melt into one another. You cannot chop up a melody into isolated seconds without destroying the music. In duration, time expands and contracts based on intensity. 5 minutes spent waiting for a broken software deployment to roll back feels agonizingly long, while 3 hours spent lost in a deep, creative flow state evaporates in an instant. Yet the modern workplace cannot tolerate duration because a fluid, unpredictable human consciousness cannot be billed, budgeted, or predicted. The organization demands that you betray your inner sense of time and submit entirely to spatialized time. Think of the timesheet, the calendar invite, or tracking software. The organization forces your brain into uniform artificial intervals, billing by the 15-minute increment, measuring value purely by the hour. Bergson warns that when we rely too heavily on the spatialized clock, a profound alienation occurs. Our surface ego takes over, and we begin to view our own thoughts, feelings, and energy as a collection of static objects to be managed. By forcing your fluid human consciousness into the rigid grids of corporate Temps, the workplace slices up your actual lived experience of existence, converting the poetry of human duration into cold currency for the organization. If Bergson explains how our time is quantified, the German philosopher Martin Heidegger explains the ultimate existential cost of this theft. In his 1927 masterpiece, Being and Time, Heidegger argued that human beings are fundamentally different from objects like tables or rocks. A rock just sits in a space, but a human being is time. Our existence is defined by our finitude, by the fact that we are thrown into a world where our days are strictly numbered. Heidegger famously called this authentic mode of existence being towards death. For Heidegger, death isn't just an event that happens at the very end of life. Death is a constant ambient background reality that colors every choice we make. Recognizing that our time is finite is the very thing that snaps us out of a sleepwalking existence. It forces us to ask, since my time is short, what actually matters to me? What is my true telos? But the modern organization cannot allow you to live with such an awareness. A person awake to their own finitude is fundamentally unmanageable. If you truly grasp that your life is brief, you will not spend your nights building a slide deck for a venture capital firm. So how does the corporate structure neutralize Heidegger's being towards death? It plunges you into what Heidegger called the they self, the realm of superficial everyday distraction where we do what one does simply because everyone else is doing it. And it accomplishes this through a brilliant, terrifying linguistic inversion. It replaces your mortality with the deadline. Think about that phrase, deadline. The organization takes the shattering existential weight of your actual death and shrinks it down into a retail, weekly project boundary. By flooding your nervous system with a constant artificial anxiety over this Friday's deadline, the system tricks your primal brain. It misdirects your existential dread away from the tragic passing of your youth and onto a missing spreadsheet. You become so consumed by the fake catastrophe of a late deliverable that you forget the actual impending reality of your own mortality. The corporate deadline is an existential clothing device. It stretches your focus just far enough to see next week's sprint goal while rendering you completely blind to the finite nature of your own life, the only one you will ever get. To prevent total psychological revolt against this anti-teleological temporal nightmare, the modernist project had to engineer a synthetic telos. It had to give workers a fake finish line to look at so they wouldn't collapse from despair. That synthetic finish line is the myth of retirement. The system tells you, give us your youth, give us your duration, endure 50 years of anti-teleological, spatialized, accelerated time loops, and in exchange, we will hand you a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. We will grant you a decade of pure teleological peace at the very end of your life. But this is the ultimate structural bait and switch. First, because the modern accelerated economy is built on perpetual inflation and systematic instability, the finish line is constantly being pushed further away. The retirement age rises, the pension funds shrink, and the horizon recedes. This is what Deleuze means when he talks about perpetual postponement. But second, and more profoundly, The system spends 50 years systematically destroying your capacity to enjoy the finish line even if you reach it. The machine shapes your brain through decades of continuous microsurveillance, sprint deadlines, and hypervigilance. It conditions you to find meaning only through spatialized metrics and task completion. When corporate functionaries finally cross that synthetic finish line into retirement, they often experience a profound, terrifying vacuum of identity. Having been stripped of their natural human teleology and fed an artificial diet of corporate tasks for a lifetime, they find themselves completely incapable of existing without a metric to hit. The cage doesn't just hold you during your working hours, it breaks your internal temporal compass so completely that even when the doors are opened, you can only look for another wheel to run in. The anti-teleological experience of modern work is a profound violation of human dignity. It reduces our finite sacred lifespans into a series of unremembered, cyclical tasks meant only to feed an immortal, unfeeling economic apparatus. It accelerates our days, spatializes our minds, and hides our mortality behind a wall of trivial deadlines. So how do we fight an endless loop? You do not fight it by trying to win the corporate game, because the game is rigged to ensure that winning only unlocks a harder level. You must reclaim your own horizon. It means stepping off the acceleration track Hartmut Rosa identifies and intentionally seeking what he calls resonance, relationships with the world that cannot be sped up, quantified, or optimized. It means embracing Bergson's duration, allowing yourself moments of unmapped, unstructured time that cannot be accounted for on a timesheet. And it means remembering Heidegger's warning, reclaiming your being towards death so that your true finite lifespan dictates your priorities, not the artificial urgency of a manager's demands. We must stop treating our corporate jobs as chapters in our life's ultimate story and start treating them as what they are, cold transactions designed to fund our true, hidden teleology. Your real telos cannot be tracked of a spreadsheet. It is found in the unquantifiable, unoptimized corners of existence, in deep craft practiced for its own sake, human relationships that serve no career utility, in art that creates no revenue, and in moments of quiet stillness that produce absolutely nothing for the market. The machine wants you to believe that life is a circle that must spin faster every year, but your soul knows the truth. Your life is an arrow, and it is your radical revolutionary right to decide exactly where it lands.